John, there was a bit of news at the start of the week with Evan Hodson joining Doncaster on a 1-month loan.
Yeah, well, obviously chances in our first team have been limited for Evan, and the reserve team isn't a structured competition yet, so we just felt that Doncaster needed a back rower. We need Evan to play regularly first team football in order to aid his development, and Evan wants to play first team football. So in all honesty, it was a good fit for everyone, and I'm sure that he'll benefit with this month's first team rugby over at Doncaster.
And we're already seeing the immediate benefits. He played 80 minutes for Doncaster against Sheffield in the 1895 Cup last night.
Yeah, I've just spoken to him, and they weren't far away with it. They weren't far away. It was only at the very end that Sheffield got them, and it was some quality through Blackmore and Thackeray that they managed to do that. So, great effort by Doncaster. But I'm sure that Richard Horne is saying exactly what I'm saying to my players, that yes, the 1895 Cup would be lovely, but it's the league that's your bread and butter, and it's very tight in League One. Well, it's very tight in the Championship for us as well, and that's how we need to apply ourselves.
Is there going to be any more moves potentially in the pipeline for some of those players not getting first team opportunities?
It depends, Mick. I mean, it's obviously got to benefit the player, it's got to benefit both clubs, and it's got to be, it's got to suit everyone. So those three things aren't always that easy to get in place. But we have got a reserve game again against Wakefield next Wednesday coming up, so that will allow everybody else to play, and it's been beneficial for us because it's allowed people to put their hand up and play. And John Magrin's forced his way back in there, and we saw the benefit last year with Liam Kirk. So it is well worth doing, and I'm looking forward to next year when it will be actually structured and it'll be a regular thing, and you have to fulfil your fixtures. So I just think it'll be really beneficial next year for rugby league in general, but for Bradford Bulls as well in particular.
Positive response after the team meeting last Tuesday, John?
Yeah, positive response after the league game, and then the honest words that were spoken on Tuesday, and I would say for 55 minutes or so, that was the best we've played, because I just thought we were controlled, we were composed, we played some good rugby league, we were defending well. We did struggle once we had the sin bin in and went down to 12, and Halifax seemed to pick the tempo up. It gave them a sniff, but then once we got back to a full complement, we closed the game out as well. So great 2 points, good performance for 55 minutes, still things to learn and progress with though.
How does that first hour against Halifax compare with what you've witnessed so far this season?
Well, we've had some good games, we've played well against in certain games. We haven't done it consistently enough for my liking, but we haven't been far away. There's only 2 games really that I've been absolutely disappointed with, and they're both the big losses. The ones to Featherstone and to Lee. So in all of the other games, I think there were some positives to take from them, and I think we've had some good 60, 70 minutes before us. I'm still waiting for an 80-minute job. I know we might have done that a few weeks ago, but I'm still waiting for a full 80 minutes job, and that's what we'll strive to. You might not get it. If 70 minutes is good enough for us to get the win, so be it. But that's what we're working towards. And you should always work towards the unattainable, because your sort of standards should be very high. Your aspirations should be high, and then if you get somewhere near it, you're doing pretty well.
I know you don't like praising individual players, John, but you look at Sam Alice, Elliot Minchella, Mikey Wood, Conor Farrell and Steve Crossley. You've got 175 tackles, and only 5 tackles of that 175 were missed.
Yeah, they were very good. They were that's the top and bottom of it. They were very good. But I think, not just the forward pack. I think you can look right across the board and see things that worked out for us pretty well. I mean, the big thing for me, and again, you're right about the individual players, but when you've been out all season, it's nice to give Joe Keys a pat on the back, and when you've been out all season except for 3 or 4 games, it's nice to give Jai Hitchcock a pat on the back. And I think everybody saw what we've been missing, in all honesty. We are a better team when Joe Keys is in at half-back and when Jai Hitchcock is on the wing. There's no two ways about that, and thankfully there were last week, and thankfully there will be this week, and hopefully there will be for the rest of the season.
And in terms of Joe Keys and Jai Hitchcock, John, it is like having 2 fresh players back new signings effectively.
It is, and 2 new quality signings as well. So that's the most pleasing thing for me. And I'm looking as well a little bit down the road, and you know, Rhys Evans might well be back before the end of July. Well, that's another one, and James Green might well be back before the original date. So that's another one. So all of a sudden, we look as if we're getting stronger towards the end of the season, which is what we wanted all the way along. It hasn't been planned that way because we'd have liked to be strong all the way through, but it might be what happens, and if that happens, we need to take advantage of that.
I think it was quite noticeable against Halifax, John, the amount of play the balls that you actually had in the opposition half. That's going to really benefit Lilly, Keys, Ethan Ryan, Jai Hitchcocks.
Well, it's because of Lilly and Keys that we did that. I mean, anybody who watched the game, well, our kicking game was much better, full stop. And part of the kicking game is gaining territory, and when you gain that territory and you force an error too, you get a good field position to attack. So yeah, they were instrumental to that, but also defensively as well, we put Halifax under some pressure as well. So there were many plus points, and it's been a much better place to be in and around this week. But we're fully aware as well that we've got a very difficult game coming up on Sunday against an informed Widnes team who've got some quality individuals as well.
Has that been the message around Tong and Odsal this week, John? One of maintaining that consistency, keeping the high standard set against Halifax, and bringing that into the game against Widnes?
It is, yeah, but what the big message is, this is the last third of the season. This needs to be the best third. You know, we can argue about whether the first third was better than the second third or whatever. This needs to be the best third because it's when the money's on the line, and it's when the business end of the season. So we've got to ensure this last third of the season is the best one, and that's been the message, the hymn sheet that we've been singing from this week. And this is the first game of that last third is Widnes. So we know we have to be good, but we also know we'll be challenged as well because they're a good team.
You look at their squad, John: Owens, Brand, Gelling, Craven, Gansard, Hanson, the Chapel Howe brothers, Luluai. You were at the Widnes Dewsbury game last night. They're a very attacking, potent threat. Yeah,
there's loads of ball movement, some clever halfbacks. You know, Danny Craven's an excellent halfback, and you put young Gilmore at the other side who's structurally sound with a good kicking game. Jack Owens at fullbacks creates chances, and by God, they've got a tough forward back. I'll tell you, Harrison Hansen played like a 21-year-old in that 1895 Cup game. So yeah, they're a very good team, and we're fully aware of that. And you know, I haven't even mentioned Anthony Gelling, and he went off for the last half hour last night because they'd got the job done, and he'd contributed to having the job done with 3 tries. So he's a bit of a handful as well down there, right down our left-hand side. So yeah, I think we're fully prepped about them. We know a lot about them. We know theoretically how to stop them, but we've got to then put that into practice, and then we've also got to exploit them as well practically as part of our game plan, and that's what we'll be endeavouring to do.
Do you see the 1895 Cup being a bit of a factor for Widnes, 3 games in a week?
It could be, yeah, it could be. It depends. I mean, I know for Jordan Johnson didn't play on the Friday against Batley, neither did Craven. You know, so there has been an element of rotation, but their squad's not as big as ours, so they haven't got that same luxury. But I mean, and I have been disrespectful to Dewsbury, but that wasn't the toughest game on the Wednesday night. You know, they weren't really challenged physically, I didn't feel. And obviously, when you can take Anthony Gelling off for the last half hour, I think you realise then you've got the game sewn up, and he was sat on the bench, obviously with us in mind on the Sunday. So yes, it'll be a factor. Whether it'll be as big a factor as was initially envisaged, I don't know.
And both Bradford and Widnes fighting for different things. Obviously Bradford going for the top 5, and Widnes looking over the shoulder at Barrow and Swinton, who found a bit of form.
Yeah, both playing well at the minute, but I don't think Widnes will have anything to worry about with regard to staying in the Championship, because you've mentioned the players, I've mentioned some players. There's just too much quality there. They'll be in the Championship next year, and they'll be in the Championship with a 0 deficit as well. So again, they'll be a threat next year. But we've to deal with the here and now, and the here and now is a really good Widnes team on Sunday down at Odsal.
In terms of Bradford Bulls team news, John, can we expect Matty Wildy to be back this weekend?
It might be a week too early. He's struggling a little, is Matty, with his back. It might be 1 week too early. Steve Crossley's also struggling, but again, Steve doesn't like missing games, and he's already told me not to rule him out. So if that big fella tells you that, I'm happy to concur. But he hasn't trained. Steve loves training and he loves playing, and unfortunately had to miss the Tuesday field session. So it is not where we'd like him to be at this point in time, but we'll give him every opportunity to recover in order to lead his side out on Sunday.
Does that mean he'll be given the opportunity to hopefully train this evening?
He won't train this evening. The opportunity will be the Saturday training session. So I think that gives you an indication that he is in a bit of bother with regard to being able to play, but he'll be given every opportunity right until the last minute. So you can name a squad, you see, you can always change the squad at the last minute if players become available, or you pick up an illness or an injury, and Steve might fit into that category.
George Flanagan's picked up a 2-game ban for his trip on Scott Griggs. Does that throw up potentially an opportunity for Thomas Doyle to be back in the side?
Well, it doesn't start this week. It's 2 games from next week, so it'll be Toulouse and Swinton that he'll miss. So you know, he might get a reprieve because I mean, I've had a word with George, and I know George from a long way back, and I like George a great deal. We've had some honest words, and I think he wasn't expecting to play this week. He might well get a reprieve because he's going to miss out the next 2 weeks, so we'll have to wait and see.
Is it fair to say, John, that he's feeling a little bit guilty that he nearly cost his side the game?
I don't think he's feeling guilty. I think he's feeling disappointed in himself, and I think he's let his mates down. George is very much a team man. George loves the group, he loves the team, and he loves the club, and he feels as if he let them down. No doubt about that. And he's apologised to them, he's apologised to the coaching staff, and you know, we draw a line and go forward from here. But I can tell you, he wouldn't have been in the team this week if we'd have had a full complement, and if he hadn't been suspended. Because he's suspended, that throws a little question mark, so he might get a reprieve, I don't know.
You've mentioned some of those injured players, John. Rhys Evans, James Green. What can you tell us about Joe Brown and Rowan Milnes? How close or far away are those two?
Well, Rowan's had his pot off, which is good news. He's now in a boot, but that allows him to put a bit of weight through the muscle, and allows us a bit of mobility to be worked upon with our physio. So that's positive news, but it's still a fair few weeks away. Joe Brown, we're hoping that the Wakefield reserve game is his target next week, which would be massive for us because it adds a bit more competition in the outside backs, which is obviously where with David Foggin Johnson's injury, again, you might think we're looking a bit scarce there, but he should be back next Wednesday.
Obviously, John, you can only take each game as it comes, final 9 games of the season, but this next block is hugely important, hopefully taking points off Toulouse, York and Widnes.
Well, yeah, I mean, we didn't feel, I mean, we felt as if we played okay at Widnes, but we felt a little hard done by, but we'll leave that to the match officials department. But so we feel as if we've a bit of 1 or 2 things to prove from that. And obviously I don't think we played that well against York when they came over to us, and I don't think we played that well against Toulouse, although it was a filthy afternoon. So there's opportunities to perhaps right a few wrongs, and but again, it's not blocks. We're looking at individual games. It's a third of the season, and we're going to tick one off at a time. And
just finally, John, it appears that we've got the good weather at last, and on Sunday, 2 games at Odsall, the Bradford Bulls women's side face the Leeds Rhinos in the curtain raiser. If anybody's watching or listening to this interview, it'll be great to see them down at Odsall on Sunday.
Yeah, but I mean, just be a great afternoon's entertainment, won't it? You know, as you say, there's the ladies playing prior to our game, and then our game, I think it will be a high quality game, and should the weather stay fine and stay dry, it'll certainly suit Widnes because they're a very expansive, entertaining team, and hopefully it'll suit us as well. So it should make for a great game of rugby league.